Welcome to our podcast, The Words That Make Us.
Consider this time with us as your excuse to take a break from everything.
Every episode, we choose a word that makes us think, wonder, or dream. We read a range of texts that explore different aspects of this word.
And we let our thoughts wander. We hope that yours will too. So grab your favourite tea.
Or a beer.
And join me, Rama.
And me, Tony Bailey. Let's go!
So today's episode is about hair. What's with the face, Tony?
I've got a bit of a keyboard incident here.
What's going on?
There's some hair in my keyboard, which is definitely not mine.
Oh, okay,
It looks a little longer. Is this your hair? And what's it doing on my keyboard?
I have no idea, but yes, it does look like my hair, and I think, yes, I am guilty of leaving hair everywhere I go.
So how come you've still got hair on your head if it keeps falling out all over the place?
I don't know. I wonder the same thing, and I pray that it shall always be enough.
Is that something about the female of the species? Because for a bloke, you don't see evidence of hair lying all over the place.
Not
and
in the
yet
shower?
Definitely not.
Really?
No. And yet there is evidence of hair loss on top of the head.
Yeah.
And yet with a female, lovely big luscious hair, but no evidence of hair loss. But it's all over the place. It's we've already talked about my in-shower experience before in an earlier podcast. Yeah, I'm definitely something I'm aware of. And if I have female guests in my... It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah.
But if, like family to stay or whatever, my daughter comes to stay, I'm really aware of the sudden influx of hair in my apartment.
Yes, I know. And in my household, there is also a cat. So there's cat hair and Rama hair, and it's not pretty, let me tell you. It's really everywhere. And because it's long, it also might be like the size of 4 of your hairs. So that's why you notice it more, So
I think looking at the length of your hair, I think it's a lot more than 4.
Maybe
it's
a bit
about
more,
10.
Yeah, so I apologize for that hair. Here, let me have it again. I'll put it on my...
You could sell it.
I could. Actually, yes, that's true.
You could sell it. We could sell it into the
wig
ever-popular wig market.
Yes.
That I'm sure you researched, and I did as well.
Yeah. I did. So today I was watching a video about wigs, and it was very interesting because they were talking about... First of all, there's the need for it, but that's not what wigs are mainly for, actually. A lot of people have hair extensions and wigs, not because they're cancer patients or anything like that, but just to, make their hair look fuller and better and stuff. And I was listening, and something's really appalled me. So, for example, in this video that I was watching, there's this guy in Vietnam, and he's trying to make the hair industry a fair trade industry because it's actually very unfair. A lot of the people that make wigs have no idea where the hair comes from.
And that's a bit scary, isn't it?
It's really scary for people who are putting those wigs on because, okay, let me not shock you right now. I'll shock you later with where some of that hair is coming. But a lot of this hair, they don't know where it's coming. And it's coming from poor women around the world who are, selling their hair for very little money. So, for example, in Vietnam, these women were being offered $2 to $3 or $3 to $4 for their hair, full long hair, $3. Until this guy decided that he's going to pay them about $100 for the hair, which is a small fortune in Vietnam. They can eat for about a year, or they can plant their lands or something, and it's a huge thing for them.
Yeah, I did some reading about that too. Actually, I was horrified because I'd never really, being a bloke, I'd never made the link between the fact that wigs actually were made of real hair. I assumed that
it was synthetic.
It was just synthetic, or maybe animal hair.
Yeah,
maybe looking like a tiger. But
Look at that mane of yours.
Yeah, look great. Why the long face? Oh, because it's from a horse. No. But I was reading about the city of Zhoushan in China's central Henan province. is widely recognised as the wig capital of the world.
Huh.
Did you know that?
No.
With more than 300,000 of its residents making a living at various points in the supply chain of wig making, supplying more than 120 countries. Thousands of tons of human hair are transported here each year. It's gross, isn't it?
I'm going to throw up.
I bet the sink gets blocked up there, doesn't it? Yeah.
But do you know why? Like, a lot of these people, they are getting hair from the sewers.
Yeah.
And from salons, like the floors of salons, and from the sewers,
Yeah.
and a drain. They clean the drains and they take the hair out and they put it in some solution to clean it, and then they cover it in silicone.
Oh no, my hair's looking like shit this morning. And it literally is.
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, so it's...
So, 20,000 local people working around the world collecting hair. Amazing. And like you said, as well as people working in the hair industry and making wigs, there is an industry of buying hair of people.
Like the hair broker, the person in between. Yeah.
There's a really nice this website called Sixth Tone. Mm-hmm. The Sixth Tone. Could it be 6 tones?
Yeah.
There's only one tone as far as I'm concerned. But talking about the village hair collector. Every village has a hair collector and goes around collecting hair. And people who are poor, their children are the ones who've got really long hair.
Okay.
So it's a sign of wealth if you have nicely cut hair, because you haven't had to sell your hair.
Wow.
But you get your daughter to have her hair as long as possible, and then you can get a rate of something like 600 yuan for your hair, which is about $90.
See, that's what the guy is trying to do. He's trying to top the price of every market to encourage the others to do that. So that was really cool. There is another source. Apparently, the best source of hair, if you want dark hair, is India, because also there are temples, Hindu temples, where women go, and men actually, they go to get their heads shaved because they're offering their hair to the gods.
Wow.
And so the temples then sell this hair, and don't ask me what they do with the money. Who knows?
Gosh.
But yeah, that's a big, big market.
It's a big price to pay.
Yeah.
See what I did then?
To pay.
Yeah,
Touche.
Yeah, very good. The global hair wig and extension market is valued at $6.46 billion US.
Say that again.
The hair wigs and hair extensions market is valued at $6.46 billion US, and is expected to keep growing at an annual growth rate of 8.4% all the way through to 2030. Become a real growth industry. Not just because of the increasing prevalence, unfortunately, of hair-related conditions like alopecia,
and cancer, and
the increasing growth in number of cancer patients that goes alongside the population growing, but also a couple of things added to that. One is the growing increase or popularity of what are called subscription models for hair. Mm-hmm. So if you wear a wig, you, instead of just having your wig, you can subscribe
and have a different one every now and then.
a different one every 3 months or something. So the turnover of wigs is higher. So that is partly the reason for the increase. And the second increase is down to fashion.
Okay.
So more and more, pop stars, actresses in particular, it is now fashionable to be seen to be wearing wigs. If you're Lady Gaga or, Beyonce or whatever, then you will wear wigs as a fashion accessory.
It's crazy because, I didn't realize that a lot of people are now buying wigs and they have lots of wigs at home. I had no idea this was a thing. I've never used a wig or hair extensions, not even fake eyelashes. So I had no idea that people really did that as an accessory rather than a necessity. But then I watched this show. It's a hilarious show called Schitt's Creek.
Yeah, great show, yeah.
Yes, and then this lady, Moira, had all of these wigs, and I was like, I guess this is a thing now. Yeah.
And the wigs sort of went out of fashion, but they were previously really fashionable too.
I didn't know that.
So, do you know what the word wig is short for?
No.
The real word is periwig.
Okay.
A periwig. Don't really know why, but wig is short for periwig. And it goes all the way back to, ancient Egypt. Huh. So in Egyptian society, men and women commonly had clean-shaven heads or close-cropped hair and often wore wigs to shield their shaved heads from the sun.
Interesting. Why shave your head if you're going to wear a wig?
Well, I don't know whether that was because of health or... I'm not sure. But they used to stick the wigs on top of their hair using beeswax and resin.
Wow.
And so, when you see like the a sarcophagus or, Tutankhamun's tomb, they're wearing a wig on those things. And then middle to sort of 16th and 17th centuries, wigs really came into prominence again. They'd previously been in disuse, but then they because of the lack of hygiene at the time, people cut their hair off because they didn't want to get head lice.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And so, the wig was revived. So royal patronage, Queen Elizabeth I of England is famous for her tightly wound red wig. Mm-hmm. Louis XIII of France pioneered wig wearing in 1624 in France.
Wow.
And so this contributed to its fashion, and it was seen as, you're a person of prestige and wealth if you wear a big wig.
Yeah.
I heard that instead of having head lice, people used to get mice in their hair because the wig was so big that you'd have mice in your hair.
In there.
Yeah.
My goodness.
So periwigs for men and women because of the French court. The London diarist Samuel Pepys records in 1665, "Up and put on my collared silk suit, very fine, and my new periwig. Bought a good while since, but durst not wear it, because the plague was in Westminster when I bought it, and it is a wonder what will be the fashion after the plague is done as to periwigs, for nobody will dare to buy any hair for fear of the infection." So in the Grand Plague, people were scared of wearing wigs because they didn't know where the wig had come from and whether it was infested with the plague.
The plague.
And then, just to finish off with wigs, because of the French and American revolutions, the wig as a sign of prestige, it went completely out of fashion. If you would not wear a wig because it was against the that move towards liberty and such. And so it didn't really come back into fashion until middle of the 20th century, when actors and actresses would start to wear
big
wigs for fashion purposes, I guess.
So that actually leads me to the thing that I looked up. So what do you think that our hairstyles tell about us? So when we...
How much hair we've got.
That too.
I think we do make it in the whole, that kind of school of physiognomy. Reading a human book by its cover. I think the hair plays a major part in that, doesn't it? Yeah, so I think...
there's this typical headmistress thing, where she puts her hair...
Headmistress hair, that's a slightly aggressive tying back of the hair. As opposed to, you've got that sort of free, flowing nature woman sort of thing going on. Whereas I've got the desperate last gasp attempt of an old man to
I was going to say,
hair.
You have great hair. It's like you never lost your hair. Did you worry growing up that you might go bald like a lot of men?
I think I did. I think all men are slightly concerned about that.
Yeah, exactly. So there is like, what do you think is the threshold when they say, I made it, I'm not going to be bald?
Well, I don't think I don't think I'm going to be like, shiny bald. But there is certainly a hair loss and a bit of, but
hair is receding.
I feel sorry for those guys where the hair disappears when they're in their sort of 20s or whatever, it's Prince William or
exactly. It's pretty sad because they're so handsome, and then all of a sudden they look like old men.
They had a good head of hair, and then it all went badly wrong.
But if you think about it, there are some actors who are very attractive who are bald. Like for example, Bruce Willis, Ed Harris. I always found Ed Harris really attractive.
Ed Harris, what about, do you remember Telly Savalas, Kojak?
No, I never found him attractive. But I wanted to tell you about all these different styles of hair and what they mean. And so, do you remember Alain de Botton? So we talked about him.
I remember, and I even remember what his hair was like.
He does not have good hair. Actually, that's a good way to tell you what he said. He said, I'm going to read you two things from him. He said, movie star looks, he's talking about boldness. His hair is terrible. People should look him up. Alain de Botton. Just shave it off is the mantra that many men are faced with when impending male hair loss is on the cards. De Botton's opinion is that the absurdity of the comb-over only leads to public ridicule, whilst images of celebrities who look even more attractive without hair are shown to encourage men to shave their heads, as if shaving off your hair will suddenly make you look like Bruce Willis. He says, boldness has been spun by its supporters as synonymous with exaggerated potency, but the bold know that. Far from having the vigor of a skinhead, most of them look like nothing so much as a fragile librarian.
Yes. It's just a little bit harsh on bald people, but I like that image of the fragile librarian.
Yeah. But he's bald, so he gets away with saying something like that.
Yes. To give him credit, he is being somewhat self-deprecating.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, I don't think men are as bothered about being bald.
Oh, let me tell you, I have a teenager at home, and at the first sign of losing some hair, he panics.
Really? The market for male, potions and lotions that help against hair loss.
Yeah? Is that a thriving market as well?
Absolute growth market, yeah. And the science basically says it doesn't work.
Don't bother.
It doesn't work.
I mean, what does work is this minoxidil thing, which is a solution that you put on your hair, but basically you have to keep using it your whole life. Once you stop using it, your hair will fall out again. Yeah. And it is proven. It does work.
What is that?
Minoxidil is this, that's just the substance name, but I think it's called Rogaine.
Right.
And it has this chemical in it that once you put it on your hair, and if you do it consistently, then it keeps your hair from falling out. But once you stop, it all falls out. So my brother tried that. Did not work for him. It doesn't work. It works temporarily only. But what about hair implants? I mean, that's a very big market.
That's a very big market, and again, a little bit like cosmetic surgery, which we kind of talked about before. It's become
all these
very,
people
very.
Coming from Turkey. Some people have like a plaster on their nose. Some people on their boobs. Some people on their heads.
Strange places to have your hair done. Yeah, but yeah, that's true. I mean, when you can always tell when somebody's having their rug fitted or their little matting. It's like planting out seedlings, isn't it? And then you see these little pinholes in somebody's head with little bits of hair sprouting out. Yes. But yeah,
but the
science. I did a little bit of research into this hair loss thing. Hair loss shampoos do not work with hair loss because the shampoo's only on your head for 10
topical.
seconds.
Yeah.
So it can't possibly have any impact. All it can do is to treat other things that might cause hair loss. Like dandruff or psoriasis or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Psoriasis, sorry, thank you. Good. So yeah, I haven't tried hair loss shampoos and I'm not going to. So do you actually use shampoo?
Oh yeah, of course I do use shampoo. Are you talking about the No-poo?
Yeah, see, because I thought you were, trendy and with the kids and all that. Because apparently, being no-poo is the thing to be. Not used. It doesn't mean don't wash your hair.
Yeah, you wash it just with water.
Yeah, or there is a claim that the mixture of baking soda followed by apple cider vinegar is supposed to be good for you. I'd be really worried that everything would start to fizz and my head would burst into flames or something. Or you can use coconut oil.
Yeah, coconut oil, wouldn't that make it very greasy?
It's difficult to rinse out and it may leave your hair heavy and greasy.
Exactly.
It says here, well done you. Very good. And washing only with water.
So a brother of mine, one of my brothers, and a colleague did that, and I just never thought it was a good idea. I don't know.
But you know where people have it really, really long hair. And some people have their hair all sort of braided and whatever.
The dreads,
and the dreadlocks, or underneath some sort of head garment or whatever, turban.
Yeah.
Then they potentially go for very long periods of time without washing their hair.
I think with the turban and the headscarf and stuff, you do wash your hair regularly, and I don't know if they... Actually, it's a good question. For the hijab, I know for sure that you don't wear it at home. And so you only wear it when you're outside, and then you go home and you can do whatever you want. You wash it, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about the turban, but I'm guessing it should be the same, that you're inside your home, you don't have to wear it.
Yeah. But I guess if your head's being covered, then it's not being attacked by... the elements of nature that cause your hair to get dirty.
Exactly.
So I suppose there is there's something in that.
And also people don't see that it's getting greasy, so it's like, who cares?
Maybe I should start wearing a turban.
Start wearing a...
I tell you, I could not survive without my daily regimen of, I have to have a shower every morning, you'd be glad to know, but I have to wash my hair. I wash my hair every day because even if I don't, if you have a day where you don't, I feel really grimy and
Well, I think most women, if I can speak for most women, or at least most of the women I know, don't wash their hair every day because it's quite a hassle. It's long and it takes a lot of time, and then you have to style it after and all of that.
Well, that's because washing your hair is like a several stage process, isn't it? Because you've got to put the conditioner on as well.
Yeah, but and also drying it and styling it.
God.
It's really a lot of work. And also, I also read that washing it every day is not necessarily a good idea because you're stripping it of its natural...
Yeah, natural oils are good, aren't they? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, wow.
But if that's what you're used to, then you do that.
So, question for you.
Yes.
Let's get personal. What's the most... Let's go with the most embarrassing. What's the most embarrassing haircut you've had in your life? Can you remember?
Well, first...
Or traumatic?
There was a traumatic one that when I was in university, so I was, I think, 21 or something, I went to the hairdresser. So let me just tell you that every time I've gone to the hairdresser, I've cried. Until not so long
Until
ago.
Yesterday.
And now I don't care so much anymore. I'm like, it'll grow back. But when I was younger, literally, my mom, every time she took me to the hairdresser, she knew I was going to be crying on the way back. Because it's like they don't understand what I'm trying to tell them. So one day I went to this hairdresser and I said to her, I want it to be like past the ears, basically, like short, but not that short. And I showed her a picture, and then she went and gave me like a what's the word? Like a pixie cut.
Oh gosh.
And I cried my eyes out, and I was in my 20s. I shouldn't, and I refused to see people for I think over a week. I was like, I'm not seeing anybody. I don't want to.
Gosh, and it shows, doesn't it, just what a traumatic effect a bad hairdo can have.
Your identity, or also for me, it's not part of my identity. It's part of my expectation. I have a certain expectation in my head, and now this looks nothing like it. I'm really mad.
And you can't hide from it either, can you?
No, it's like everybody. There for
everybody's going to
see
see it. Although the reality is that people who look at somebody's hair, it just has a minimal impact and then it's over and done with. Whereas you believe that everybody's looking at it all the time.
So this is the thing that I wanted to read to you, which is what Alain de Botton said about hair.
Tell me. I'm interested. What does he think of my hair, for example? Is he going to say that I am?
So let's see. He says, I'm going to try. Here's a challenge for me. Anybody who listens to him with his videos from the School of Life, they know his voice. He has a beautiful voice and a great way of reading. I might, even without trying, read in the same way.
Go on, do it.
Let's see if I can do this. Everyone's hair speaks in a slightly specific dialect, but we can, with relative ease, define some of the main entries in humanity's vast and nuanced dictionary of hair. Tightly pulled back, we're letting the world know that we are busy, organized, and not to be interrupted lightly. Long flowing and tangled, we are reminding society of our opposition to some of the demands of modern work. We're spiritual beings, our hair is saying we have a heart and make the time to notice what really counts.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to ditch the accent now.
But it was uncanny.
I saw you staring at me.
It was uncanny. It was almost like I was in the room with him again. But anyway, very good.
Emphatic side parting. We are using hair to tell others that we're careful, modest, patient, sensible, and very willing to be realistic. This is the emphatic side parting.
Yeah.
We can be relied upon. Maybe you don't have an emphatic side parting. You have
the problem with an emphatic side parting is it also looks a bit like Hitler.
I was going to say, this looks like Hitler very much.
Yeah.
And it shows that we are, you can rely on us. We're patient. Modest.
I'm not sure Hitler is any of those things. But yeah, I can see that. Maybe you need to have a moustache to go with to go into the Hitler.
What's that moustache called? Actually, it has a
little
name.
Pencil.
Is it a pencil? No, it's something else.
It's a little. What's a Hitler moustache, isn't it?
Okay.
Charlie Chaplin.
The next one, the Charlie Chaplin one. The next hairstyle, brushed forward, closely cropped in the manner of a Roman general. What does that say about you? We're too immersed, our hair-informed society, in the real battles of life to care about trivia. We make our hair obey. We have grown indifferent to criticism and, in a good way, hard to impress. Hair truly is a subtle and intricate language. The problem, or even the tragedy, is that other people aren't necessarily paying very much attention to what it is saying. We encounter this awkward reality in the difficult moments. After our return from an expensive and slow-moving hairdresser, we rejoin our friends or lovers with an expectant, "What do you think?" only to receive mildly confused responses. "Those trousers suit you," or "Have you lost weight?" So what he's saying is that we care so much about like this, we've done something to our hair, it's my new me, and people don't notice, and it's that kind of like, oh.
Yeah. Isn't that a quote, that one about, when they... there's a quote, isn't there, about when if somebody says to you, "Oh, your hair looks good," or, nice shoes or whatever. Anton Chekhov. Mm-hmm. Of all people, Anton Chekhov said, "When a woman isn't beautiful, people always say, 'You have lovely eyes,' or 'You have lovely hair.'" Oh. Yeah, so kind of Anton and Alain in.
Actually, this reminds me of something. There's a poem that I found that talks about exactly that, or something very similar that I was not going to read, but now that you mentioned it. Do it, yeah. It's For Anne Gregory by William Butler Yeats. So,
I think I have read this poem in the past, yeah.
Never shall a young man, thrown into despair by those great honey-coloured ramparts at your ear, love you for yourself alone, and not your yellow hair. But I can get a hair dye and set such colour there, brown or black or carrot, that young men in despair may love me for myself alone and not my yellow hair. I heard an old religious man but yesternight declare that he had found a text to prove that only God, my dear, could love you for yourself alone and not your yellow hair.
Gosh, imagine being... characterised so much by your hair and nothing else.
Exactly. And she's like,
no. And you're a nice girl, but it's just your hair. Basically.
I'm here for the hair. Yeah. Exactly.
I think hair was a very kind of important and sensuous thing in those earlier years, Middle Ages and beyond. Maybe because there was so much, everything was concealed.
Yeah.
There wasn't a great deal of cleavage and ankles and such like.
True.
So the way that a woman could express her femininity was through her curly locks or, beautiful hair. I had another poem which is along a similar line, actually, probably written a similar time, which was written by Charles Baudelaire.
Baudelaire, sorry.
French poet. Born in 1821, and he has a love poem called Her Hair, which is a celebration of his mistress's hair, which he objectifies in sensual terms. Her hair. "O fleece," uses the same word, right? "O fleece. O fleece that down the neck waves to the nape. O curls, O perfume nonchalant and rare. O ecstasy, to fill this alcove shape with memories that in these tresses sleep, I would shake them like pinions in the air. Languorous Asia, burning Africa, and a far world defunct almost, absent within your aromatic forest stay. As other souls on music drift away, mine, O my love, still floats upon your scent. I shall go there where, full of sap, Both tree and man swoon in the heat of the southern climates. Strong tresses be the swell that carries me. I dream upon your sea of amber, of dazzling sails, of oarsmen, masts and flames. A sun-drenched and reverberating port, where I imbibe colour and sound and scent, where vessels gliding through the gold and moire open their vast arms as they leave the shore to clasp the pure and shimmering firmament. I'll plunge my head, enamoured of its pleasure, in this black ocean where the other hides. My subtle spirit then will know a measure of fertile idleness and fragrant leisure, lulled by the infinite rhythm of its tides. Pavilion of autumn-shadowed tresses spun, you give me back the azure from afar, and where the twisted locks are fringed with down, lurk mingled odours I grow drunk upon, of oil, of coconut, of musk and tar. A long time, always, my hand in your hair will sow the stars of sapphire, pearl, ruby, that you be never deaf to my desire, my oasis and my gourd, whence I aspire to drink deep of the wine of memory.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Do you think Baudelaire was a little bit, what's the word, a bit horny at that time? Because there's some imagery in there that I hadn't really noticed when I read it first time, that I was reading it second time thinking, ooh, yes.
Very sensual.
Yes,
but like, if this doesn't make a woman swoon, I don't know what does.
Oh my goodness, if a man says, I shall go there where full of sap, both tree and man swoon in the heat of the southern climates, then what else could get you going?
Yeah, I know.
You've gone all red, Rama, honestly.
But what I really like is that this was written in French and it was so nicely translated, actually. It's really, really well done.
Yes, I did a good job on that, didn't I?
You're fantastic, Tony. I never doubted your translation skills.
Yeah, it is good. Amazing how, we talked about this a little bit in our episode on cats, how what seemingly such a mundane topic as cats leads to so much imagery in the English language to do with cats. Yeah. And on that same theme, I sort of thought, well, it's the same with hair, surely not. But actually, same again. So many things to do with hair in the English language. I'll share just a few of them with you. See if there's any there that you yourself use. Yeah. So we all use having a bad hair day. Yeah. Yeah. Hair of the dog?
No.
Hair of the dog is when, for example, if you've got a really raging hangover, just having a small amount of alcohol will do you good. It's the hair of the dog that bit you, sort of thing. Doing something by a hair's breadth. Getting in somebody's hair. Don't get in my hair. Yeah. Letting your hair down. Yeah. Makes your hair stand on end. Yeah. There's never a hair out of place. Yeah. Tearing your hair out. Yep. Not turning your hair. Splitting hairs. Yep.
I like that very much. It's a very good image about us arguing about small things.
Yeah. Yeah. Smaller and important. Widow's peak. Yeah, I think I've used all of those at some stage.
I've used most of them.
And there are lots more, but that'll do for now.
What I like, there's one in Arabic that I really like. It says, I've grown hair on my tongue. Ooh. And do you know what this means? That, Tony, I've grown hair on my tongue trying to tell you not to do that, So it's like I've done it so often that now there's hair on my tongue. And this has happened and you still have not done what I asked you to do.
I like it. Now, earlier question. I'm not going to let you get away with it because I was going to ask you about, the most embarrassing haircut. So you said that you used to cry when you went to the hairdresser or whatever. But is there one, is there one hairstyle that sticks out where you
it's that. To me, that haircut, the pixie kind of haircut, I really, really hated it. It looks fantastic on a lot of women, they rock it. But for me, it was, first of all, not what I expected. And second of all, it was terrible. I don't know if you even did it well. It didn't even suit my hair texture. It was because this needs really straight hair and my hair is wavy, and so that doesn't work. Yeah, yeah. How about you? Did you get something where you were hiding for days?
My life is just punctuated by embarrassing haircuts. I've got a few that I can tell you about. If I was to show you, and I will do after the programme, I'll show you some pictures, my school photos. every year is just another picture of the latest thing that my dad did to me, because he used to cut my hair. And honestly, you talk about like putting a bowl around somebody's head and cutting it. It was very much like that.
Like that. I did that with my brothers, actually.
Yeah, I have got these terrible, terrible... It's like, imagine you said you cut his hair so it looks like a motorbike helmet. So that was my childhood. And then as an adult, my hair was just a mess, really. I've had at least two really, really traumatizing things. Once I was on holiday in Croatia, and I went to this very nice-looking stylist in Zadar. Why do people go to have their hair done when they're on holiday? What a stupid idea.
I have never...
But anyway, it was this very gay hairdresser, and he took a real shine to me. Yeah. I think he thought we were of the same, anyway. So, and he liked the fact that I was English. And he said, I've got to adjust the thing for you. And I sat there and it all went horribly wrong. And by the time I came out, my hair was really sticking up and it was all over the place. It looked just like the Croatian Eurovision Song Contest entry. It was horrific. And I had to enjoy the rest of my holiday with this ridiculous hairstyle.
Cats.
And when
Cats for the win.
Look at my holiday in Croatia includes pictures of me with this ridiculous hair.
I need to see that one.
Yeah. And then a few years later, I went to Poland.
Yeah.
On a
and
work
you got a
thing.
haircut on holidays again.
I saw this hair salon. I thought, it's a nice men's salon. They'll do my hair there.
Yeah.
And I went in, and the guy behind the counter spoke really good English. Mm-hmm. And I said, could you do my hair? He knows what he's doing. This will be fine. Yeah. And he said, we can, but I can't do it now. If you come back in an hour. So came back in an hour. He was not there.
Oh my goodness!
And his colleagues ushers me.
He told me what to do. I can do it.
He didn't speak any English at all, and I, of course, didn't speak any Polish. So I tried to sort of, short whatever, and he basically sheep sheared me. I had no hair. It was like I went into school the next week or whatever. It was like, oh Tony, oh dear, have you had an accident? What happened? No, I did. Well, I did have an accident. Yep. Yeah. So for me, it's pretty traumatic. But I have now at least found a place that I go to over and over again. So it's the same trauma over and over again.
It's the same trauma, at least. This is a trauma you know.
Last time was a traumatic thing that I'd never had before.
Which was?
Which was when the guy said, did I want my nasal hair waxing?
Did you tell him yes?
I said yes, because I didn't think it could possibly be painful.
I heard it's so painful.
He put this wax up my nose. And then, so it's like two nasal plugs or whatever. And then we waited for 5 minutes while it set.
Dried, yeah.
And then he literally yanked it. He had the two like, tissues with this wax on the end. And then he literally yanked these things out of my nose. And I thought I think I lost some brain. I think when it came out, there was more than just hair.
There was some grey matter.
I think my sinuses were possibly permanently damaged.
Oh my goodness!
It was really painful.
Why
when you're
would you do such a thing?
When there's tears coming down your chin. It's like, oh, Dankeschön, danke. Oh.
Very English manner.
God, yeah. So anyway, yes. What about have you ever participated in any sort of pop culture and had, like a Madonna hair or a Lady Diana or, anything like that?
I thought you were going to ask me, have you ever participated in massacring somebody's hair? And I said yes.
Well,
I've done it to my brothers.
You can answer that first, yeah.
And to my sisters.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah. And I did it to my both my children as well. So with my brothers, it was the bowl haircut, which I tried. I'm the eldest, if you can tell. Yeah. And then with my sisters, I tried to give them a fringe, and I did it a few times, and I still don't know why they gave me their heads again.
It's incredibly difficult, isn't it, cutting hair?
You make it short because it's wet, and then you cut it, and then it dries, and it jumps up, and then you're like, oh my God, that's very short. Let's cut it to the base of the hair, and then, of course, you never cut it out. It's just like these little tufts of hair at the top.
And then they've got this big, shiny forehead.
It was so sad.
Where there was once a fringe.
And I once did that with my eldest son, and he looked exactly like Hitler because he had soft black hair, and and so I had to rush him to the hairdresser to fix that. That was really scary. And with my little one, every time I give him a haircut, he cries, even though I'm really good at it now.
He's got flowing locks.
Exactly. Yeah. He's got this beautiful long hair, and he's got these curls. And every time I cut his hair, I know he's going to cry because he gets used to this new image. And he's like, and every time it's the same. Nobody's going to play with me tomorrow.
Because
nobody will recognize me. I'm like, of course they'll recognize you. No, they don't like me if I cut my hair. My hair is me. And I'm like, oh, come on now. And he really means
Do you have his hair long so you can sell his hair to
Maybe I
Chinese
should do that.
wig
exactly.
maker?
Yeah, he'd love that idea. Let it grow forever and ever.
But come on, as a teenager, you must have had, let's do a bit of the Madonna or the...
No, I don't think I was that adventurous with hair ever. I never really... What did I do that was kind of very adventurous? No, I think the most adventurous thing I did with my hair was I had some red strands in my hair.
Oh, that's interesting, because that's become really, really popular.
Yeah.
You can always tell when a woman's going through a certain crisis in her life when suddenly she turns up with red hair.
Really?
Or don't you think?
I don't know.
It's something that...
I mean, I did that as a teenager. Yeah. But now as an adult, maybe if you see me with red hair tomorrow, you'll know.
It always begs more questions than anything else.
She needs a big change now. She's having a midlife crisis.
So I'm fascinated by the link between hair and sort of popular culture. Because throughout my lifestyle, there have been so many waves of musical styles. Yeah. But they each come with their own hairstyle. Yeah. So I think the only one that I've really participated in was I was very much a heavy rocker.
The
mullet. You guessed. Was it a mullet? I guess it probably was. But I was a heavy rock fan. Yeah. So Will had the denim jacket, embroidered my own stuff on the back of it. But my hair was long. Yeah. So I had
Tony, I need photos, please. Tomorrow.
Lovely flowing locks for a while. Yeah. But there are a lot. So like... if you think Elvis, the 1950s, had this famous hairstyle called the pompadour. Okay. The pompadour, because named after Madame de Pompadour, who was the mistress of Louis the 15th. Key characteristic is turning your hair back off the forehead to have this
What's it called, the coif?
Like a big quiff, yeah. And lots of other pop stars, Morrissey, Johnny Cash, have had that. The Beehive, made famous by the girl groups of the 60s, Diana Ross, the Supremes, and then by Amy Winehouse. The mop top, so the Beatles. I think that's probably the one...
That's coming back now, I think.
I think people... it's a famous one, mop top. All of those British invasion bands all had the Kinks and the Who. They all had the mop top in the 60s, and then the long hair associated with psychedelic rock and progressive rock. Yeah. Dreadlocks associated with reggae, hip hop, Bob Marley, and that sort of thing. Skinhead movement associated with punk and ska and rocksteady. The Mohican.
Have you ever had one of those?
A Mohican? Yeah. What? No.
Okay.
Do you think I look good with Mohican? Not sure. But you certainly notice somebody when they have a Mohican.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm not sure a maths teacher in an international school should have a Mohican.
If you have one, I'll dye my hair purple, which is a dream of mine. So... Yeah.
How about if you have the Mohican and I'll dye my hair purple?
It doesn't work that way.
The back comb, that kind of goth, glam, hair metal thing where the hair's pushed back to make it as big, bouffant as possible.
Not Freddie Mercury didn't have that, no?
No, he just had the long hair that went with
but
rock.
He combed his hair back sometimes and it was very sleek. Well, that's not what you're talking about.
I'm thinking about these, Alice Cooper or Motley Crue, these glam rock. Often it was called hair metal. Okay. Because the rock bands, the hair was bigger than, the music.
I see.
Jerry curls, made famous by Michael Jackson, Lionel Richie, that sort of tightly curled thing. The afro, the mullet, the curtains. is where you have a centre parting and it looks like a pair. The emo fringe. So, amazing how... associated with your musical movement is your hairstyle. it's kind of part of a little bit with what Alain de Botton said.
Yeah.
It's making a statement about your personality and your belonging with a particular group of people.
Yeah, and now you see a lot of men with really long hair, and I watched a video of a guy who was saying that my hair is my... he's doing it for a spiritual reason. He's saying that if you look in the literature, you'll find that a lot of your spirituality and your power is stored in your hair, and why are men always encouraged to have short hair? And I found that a bit weird, but then it reminded me a little bit of the story of Samson and Delilah.
Oh, so yeah, it's an epic story from the Bible to do with hair, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. So Samson is this. I think he was from the Israelites, and he was very powerful. He was very, very strong, but apparently his character wasn't as great as his physical health. And the Philistines hated him because he had wreaked some havoc somewhere, and they wanted to know the secret of his strength, why he was so strong. So they sent Delilah to ask him, and apparently he loved her. He had a weakness toward her.
Yeah, they actually married.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a forced... She was a Philistine convert.
Yeah, exactly.
But obviously a spy.
A spy, exactly. So they put her to it, and then he lied to her the first time, and he said to her, "Well, the secret to my strength is that if you wrap me with I don't know how many bowstrings, I can
7 moist ropes."
Exactly, apparently. I can break free and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he said to her, "Actually, it's my hair." And so she cuts his hair, and he's devastated. And they come in and they gouge his eyes out, and then he gets so mad that he breaks down a temple on himself and them at the same time.
Yeah, I remember that as I had a little Ladybird book of Bible stories when I was a child.
Aww.
And I think it was a much cleaner and less
tidier
version that was in that book.
Gouged and
it's just
stuff
to
like
do
that.
with I don't remember that. No, but Delilah being
this temptress.
Well, actually, the name Delilah has all those connotations, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's why we have these songs. There's like why Delilah?
Why
Isn't
Delilah?
it about the woman who kind of betrays him? And
Gosh,
it's a nice name.
Does the hair crop up in religious literature for you?
Well, not in literature, but it's a big area of debate because, like in Islam, there is the idea of a headscarf and how women should cover their hair. And it's interesting because if you look at the Quran, and the Quran is the widely accepted book, the one book, if you look there is not one single verse in the Quran that says women should cover up their hair. Like none. Yeah. But women have, or over time, people have taken that from stories here and there, or they thought, because there's this one verse in the Quran that says women should cover their chests. And so they're like, of course, if you're going to cover your chest, cover your chest with a scarf. So they're like, of course, you're going to cover your chest with a scarf. That means you put it over your head and it flows over your neck.
Yeah.
It's not true. You can just put a scarf over your neck,
Yeah.
And so...
well, that sort of tallies with, in the Bible... in Corinthians, because again there's so many conflicting things here.
Yeah.
On the one hand, having long hair is seen as a sort of holiness, people going into the wilderness and their hair growing is a sign of their spirituality and whatever. But for women, if a wife will not cover her head, then she should cut her hair short. But since it is disgraceful for a wife to cut off her hair or shave her head, let her cover her head.
Exactly.
So you can't win, can you?
No.
You can't have your hair long.
No. No, you can have it long as you cover it.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the whole point, is that if you're going to show the world your luscious, beautiful hair, then that's wrong. And you should either cut it short or cover it.
Yes.
And it's really interesting because it's the same in Judaism and in Christianity. There's the tradition of covering your hair, but it seems to have only stuck in Islam, even though in Islam there is nothing that says
it's
that.
Certainly not a tradition, a Christian tradition
anymore.
In the same book of Corinthians, where it says women should, it's disgrace to cut your hair off. It says about men Does not nature itself teach you that if a man wears long hair, it is a disgrace for him?
Then why is Jesus always depicted with long hair in every church?
I wonder whether that's as an anti-Bible, anti-teaching thing. Whether it is that idea of being not following all the rules and being an outcast. Because we also have that image of Mary kissing Jesus' feet, and standing behind him at his feet, weeping, she began to wet his feet with her tears and wipe them with the hair of her head.
So she wasn't covered.
Kissed his feet and anointed them with the ointment. So, yeah, I sort of wonder whether that's... Yeah, I mean, I don't think he had the short back and side haircut, did he? He's very much depicted as having long hair and a beard, which might be to do with the style of the time when, Middle Ages, when people were painting images of Christ.
Could be exactly that. Yeah. I mean, the whole thing of like Jesus having blue eyes and being fair-skinned and all of that, it makes no sense because he did come from the Middle East. So yeah,
absolutely.
But
I'm glad, though, just one last thing from the Bible, that the Bible says in Proverbs, which is always a good book to look in, grey hair, of which I'm an owner, up to a point, grey hair is a crown of glory. It is gained in a righteous life. So there you are. It's official.
Yes, it's official. But don't you think it's a bit interesting do you think this refers to men or women?
Oh, almost certainly to men.
See, that's the
Because
thing.
women should be covered up.
Well, not only covered up, but they also should try to hold on to youth and beauty and to keep the men happy.
That's true. Isn't that so interesting? Because when I read that, I didn't think that was about women.
Yeah, exactly.
It's my natural prejudice just kicking in there. And, when the Bible's talking, it's talking about...
It's talking about men.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's terrible.
But that's like, it makes you wonder, what is the obsession of religion with women's hair? Because if you think about it, if you look at what's happening in the world today, so this is a bit political, but it's very important to me. If you look at what's happening in countries like Iran or the Taliban, where they force women to cover their hair, and it's like outrageous because nobody should be forced to do anything.
Of course, yeah.
Why are you, as a man, controlling what a woman puts on her hair and how she should cover up? And are you worried that she might tempt you? Does that mean you're not very strong?
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing. And then if you look at the other extreme in countries like France, or even a few years ago, Turkey or Tunisia, where they say women are not allowed to cover their hair. They are not allowed to do any of these things.
Yeah,
and it's like all of these extremes, like why can't we let women just be what they want to be?
Well, they both share, like you say, a similar feature. That is that men are determining what women should or shouldn't do.
Exactly, and it's like...
As opposed to, just
let the women...
lay off and let women do what they want.
Exactly.
Surely.
So I've tried to find poems about women who are oppressed in terms of hair, whether they're forced to wear it or not wear it and not allowed to wear it.
Yeah.
I didn't find much, unfortunately. It seems like this is not it's an untapped area. But I found this really nice poem. It's called Hijab Scene 7 by Mohja Kahf. No, I'm not bold under the scarf. No, I'm not from that country where women can't drive cars. No, I would not like to defect. I'm already American. But thank you for offering. What else do you need to know relevant to my buying insurance, opening a bank account, reserving a seat on a flight? Yes, I speak English. Yes, I carry explosives. They're called words. And if you don't get up off your assumptions, they're going to blow you away.
Yeah, lovely. I like that. Yes, I carry explosives. They're called words.
Exactly.
That's so good. But it's so true because, and I feel really guilty because being, a typical English guy, I know that during my younger years, if I saw somebody walking down the street wearing the hijab or, covered up or... I would immediately be suspicious and wondering why are you covering yourself up?
I think a lot of people
I find it a little bit sinister and, and just basically through a lack of education on my part, really.
I think it's a few things. It's a lack of education, but also it's the way that these women, the boxes they are put in, they can't break out of them. They can't show the world that there is another side. So if you look in countries like Pakistan or Singapore or something, there are doctors and scientists and all kinds of women who are covered up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it seems that when they go to the West, then they have no role to play in society. So they are seen as these oppressed women or stupid women.
Yeah.
But actually, a big chunk of people, women who wear the headscarf, they're not forced by anyone.
Yeah.
They just want to do it.
Yeah. It's interesting talking about the hijab and hair. Immediately it makes me think of Boris Johnson, because he made some very, very unfortunate comments about letterbox women.
Yeah.
And yet his hair
I wish he would cover that.
Yeah, exactly. I find it's a real trend, though, at the moment, is the hairstyle that people wear is almost bigger news than the person themselves.
Yeah.
So Hillary Clinton, 1995, when she was the US First Lady, famously quipped, "If I want to knock a story off the front page, I just change my hairstyle."
Wow.
And it's true. So this is a few years old now, the story, but when Ivanka Trump had her hair cut around the time of the US presidential elections, the news of her cutting her hair had an audience of more than 1.4 billion people.
No way.
Which was the equivalent of $36 million in online news publicity. That means 1 in 7 people on the planet Earth were reading about Ivanka Trump trimming a few centimetres off the bottom of her hair. A Google search on Ivanka Trump haircut, if you do that, turns up over 12 million results.
Are you serious? What kind of a world do we live in?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? But the hairstyling of people in public life is now a big deal. Yeah. So Donald Trump, everybody talks about his big bouffant hair.
And I'm sure he knows that this is a trademark and he would never change that.
It's as much of a trademark as the swoosh logo for Nike, isn't it?
Yeah, or like his orange skin as well. This is the orange skin.
Trump biographer Gwenda Blair noted, "Trump's hair is a highly effective trademark, a humanizing bit of vanity that made him the people's billionaire rather than a remote tycoon, and on the campaign trail, his coiffure made him the perpetual centre of attention." Wow. And the same with Boris Johnson in Britain. His unkempt hair is a fundamental part of his sort of anti-establishment persona.
Very
He's anti-elite. Don't brush your hair.
And another thing that I heard about Johnson as well, him being a buffoon is also a studied tactic to make him also make headlines and stuff. It's like, what do you mean the buses? All of these little things. It's all part of a bigger plan.
And it's hugely ironic because that idea of keeping it real with being unorthodox in your grooming, they're both hugely privileged men with inherited wealth, which means they have the luxury of not having to adhere to any kind of standard grooming practice because they got what they want anyway.
Exactly.
So, interesting.
What do you think of Redheads?
Redheads. Good quote about Redheads is when this was Mark Twain. When redhead people are above a certain social grade, their hair is auburn. I feel a little bit embarrassed and ashamed because I know that in the United Kingdom, it's one of those stereotypes about which a lot of fun is made. So we don't call people redhead, they're ginger.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jokes about ginger people.
Yeah.
What is it when a ginger person's phone rings? A wrong number. It's like, those kind of... I remember at its height, it was getting really out of hand, and there was a whole series of broadcasts about this disease called gingivitis. What to do if your child's ginger? How can you get, is your child really a spawn of the devil? All this kind of stuff. It was really horrific.
It's terrible. It's so funny because, like, in the Middle East, it's not a thing at all. I was really surprised that in Europe they were being made fun of. I said to somebody one day, I was like, "Oh, I love your red hair." She was like, and then a friend of ours who was sitting there, she was like, "Oh no, your hair is not red. It's auburn." And I'm like, since when is this
red hair is on the scale, is in the middle. Auburn at one side, red hair in the middle. Ginger on the left.
Okay, that orange kind of like hair.
That Scottish sort of, or Irish orange hair.
It's funny because apparently redheads make up 1% of the population, but 10% of the population in Ireland.
Yeah.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And if you think, which city do you think has the most redheads in the world?
Probably Dublin or New York.
No, it's actually, and I forgot. In Scotland.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, exactly. Yeah. Edinburgh in Scotland is the city that has the most redheads. That follows.
But your question was, what do I...
Yes, what do you think of that aesthetically?
I think that actually that sort of red-haired, fair-skinned, freckled is beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Absolutely beautiful.
Especially if paired with blue eyes.
Absolutely. It's got that sort of like nymph-like... fairy-like
exactly
quality. It makes me want to play Irish folk music and dance a jig over it. But I think, and it's grossly unfair that people are, objectified in that way,
whether badly or in a nice manner. Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. But I read some things about them. I find them absolutely beautiful, whether men or women, to be clear. And I read some things about them. First of all, you have to have both parents that have the gene to pass it on to one child. Yeah. Because one parent carrying the gene is not enough. The interesting thing is one of the reasons why redheads were seen as witches is apparently one of the reasons, not the main reason.
Was it because they'd kissed the bum hole of a black cat?
No.
No.
Apparently one of the reasons is because they handled pain differently.
Okay.
So they had a higher threshold for pain, which is interesting because some things they're more sensitive to than us.
I was going to say a little bit of sunshine and
exactly. And so some things they're more sensitive to, and some things they're less sensitive to. Did you know that if they were to go under anesthesia, they need 20% more than the rest of us?
Really?
20% more because they're not as sensitive to it as we are.
Gosh. I didn't know.
It's crazy. But also like the obsession with them is very interesting. Like have you read the book, The Perfume?
Yeah.
Patrick Süskind. Yeah. And he's talking about, skinning them and, taking the perfume off of them. And he's just obsessed with them, kind of like otherworldly creatures. So either that, we idolize them and we use them, or we burn them on the stake. It's just...
It is weird.
It is really strange. So here are some facts about them.
Yeah.
They need about 20% more anesthesia to be sedated. They also need more local topical anesthetics, such as iodocane and novocaine, which is why many redheads have a fear of dentists, understandably. They need lower doses of pain-killing analgesics, such as opioids. They easily detect changes in hot and cold temperatures.
Yeah.
And they may be less sensitive to electric shock.
Gosh.
Needle pricks and stinging pain on the skin, which is really interesting.
I just have this very strange image of sort of scientists in a lab with a little group of red-headed people in the corner giving them electric shocks, and they seem to be a little bit more resistant to that. Yeah, bizarre is that?
That's terrible.
Bizarre. Yeah, interesting though. I mean, you in a better position to judge, but what hair colour do you think most women dye their hair towards? If people are going to have a hair colour change, my image would be that women want to be blonde.
Yeah, but no, I would say brown, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't have the facts. I'm just wondering what you think. I thought
you were... I would say brown because that's most of the population. Like, you would tend to dye your hair close to its original color. So like for me, when I dye my hair, I dye it close to what it is, which is brown.
No, it's out there. I didn't know.
But my hair
now I know.
Very subtly. Very subtly.
Yeah.
But I would say then the second one would be blonde.
Yeah. Because that was quite a trendy thing to do. I don't know whether it still is.
It's like...
I remember my mother, when I can't have been very old, but the trend was for people to have a wig.
Really?
And to go out. So she'd go to like the ball with my dad at the Works do.
Yeah.
And she'd put her wig on.
Was it a blonde wig?
She did have a blonde wig once.
And did you think it suited her?
I thought it looked ridiculous. I thought she looked like a male rock star with long blonde hair, but I didn't tell her that because she thought it was,
beautiful.
But it was only for
an occasion.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
Okay, I have a couple of things to share with you before we finish because we're nearly done. One is just to give you some figures, business figures, little business bulletin.
Love that. Yes.
Do you know how much the global hair care market is worth in terms of revenue?
I would say, I don't know, 10 billion?
10 billion. It's worth $93.74 billion.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and expected to continue growing. Yeah, quite ridiculous. Who's the biggest hair care company in the world? There's an awful lot, but there's a number of companies that are big enough to account for more than a couple of percent.
Is Wella one of them?
No, surprisingly not. I thought that'd be there.
What about this Garnier?
Laboratoire Garnier.
Yeah.
No.
What about?
No, remember this is global. I suppose these
L'Oreal?
are big. L'Oreal. No.
What?
So the big top five, The Ordinary, 6%.
The Ordinary, since when? Oh my God, that's a new company, actually.
Yeah, probably because it's big in China or probably there. Herbalife is second biggest. Redken third.
Mm-hmm.
Redken, I
that's an
Redken.
expensive one, yeah.
Yeah, but it's up there. Herbal Essences, and then equal fifth, Old Spice.
Okay, I thought this was just deodorant.
I think, I didn't know, but obviously for men, there must be some menswear hair products by Old Spice. And Remington.
Remington, okay. Oh, is that for like straighteners and stuff, not for hair products, but for hair appliances, let's say?
Yeah, I guess, because it's hair care in general, so it also includes.
So not just products, like,
Yeah. So, again, it seems to be a common feature, but we talk about the huge amount of money that we spend as a human race on stuff that you could probably deem to be non-essential.
Unnecessary, yeah. I mean, it's mostly women, and
although increasingly
men too, yeah.
One good thing is the growth in the market for natural and organic hair care.
Yeah.
So, what did we say that market was worth? 110 billion, was it? So the market
90 something.
Yeah, 100 billion around. So natural and organic hair care accounts for about 10% of that.
That's not a lot.
But it's growing. It's growing from 8% to 10%.
Yeah.
So that's at least on. Yeah. And then if we all go no-poo, then that will also help in terms of the environment.
If somebody just joined us now and they hear the no-poo, they're like, what? Pro-constipation?
We've had no-poo, and we've had, a number of other images that, Yeah, interesting.
I mean, I was also watching a video earlier about black hair, like African-American people's hair, and how it's, they're trying to reclaim the old hairstyles, like what's it called, corn crows, and like the braids and all of that, and they were talking about how they're being appropriated by white people, and how when they wore their hair that way, they were literally fired from their jobs. They're like, this is not appropriate, you have to kind of...
And now it's
popular because white people have appropriated it, and now
I have to say, I nearly died when David Beckham, who's one of my football heroes, has his hair braided.
Oh my goodness.
And he's, a white lad from London with braids in his hair, honestly.
And they were saying it's fine, you can do it, but you can't just say, oh, this is a fashion statement. and you can educate yourself about it and say, I am inspired by black people and I would like to... Yeah. So I found a poem about black hair, and it's called All Natural by Lamont Lilly. I like the kind of hair that will stand up for its rights, the kind that kicks, screams, and protests, the kind that resists and boycotts with every coil, the kind that fights, riots, and rebels, the kind that won't be quiet for nobody, the kind that won't be anything but black, the kind that refuses to relax.
I so identify with that poem because my nickname at school and at work when I first started work was Tufty.
Really?
Because I have a piece of hair, it's not quite tufting,
yeah.
but at a certain length it just starts to grow at 90 degrees to the rest of my hair. Hence the
so that was the
tufty.
Rebellious side of you that would refuse to be
I think it's just a natural thing. Maybe my head's a little bit out of shape.
It's like a cow's lick, but at the very back of your head.
So, and it doesn't matter how hard you try and stop it from happening, it will start. You'll see it in a couple of weeks' time. My hair will get to that length where it starts to grow out sideways, like a little shelf.
But what I love about this poem is this last bit, because it's a clever play on words where it says the kind that refuses to relax. Because hair relaxants are the products that you put in your hair to make it relax and to make it
floppy and
to make it straight. And so she's using that as a pun for relaxing. And
I think that's
changed.
a shame, isn't it? When a woman or a bloke for that matter, but mainly women who have beautiful curly hair want their hair to be straight. Yeah. But it's beautiful if you've got lovely curly locks and...
I know. I'm guilty of that because my hair is wavy, and then when I come in...
you've got to... Let's see the curls.
When I come in with straight hair,
curls.
They go like, no, I wish I had your curls. But I guess we always want what we don't have.
Yes.
Right?
That's life, isn't it? Yeah.
I have one last poem, but it's a funny one. This is for children, so I can read it to you. But is there anything you wanted to...
I just wanted to say a couple of things about Shakespeare. Because when it comes to hair, Shakespeare has to come in because he is... his hair was famous. Quite interestingly, if you see pictures of Shakespeare, he's got this...
receding hairline. Very
receding hairline. The Shakespeare hairstyle, basically. And the story goes that the reason why he ended up being a playwright... I don't know whether this is apocryphal, whether it's really true or not, but I've read this a couple of times in my research, was that he started out as a young actor, but then his forehead was just getting bigger and his hairline was receding, and he began to feel very self-conscious, and his good looks were receding with his hair. He couldn't get major roles, so that was his major motivation for becoming a writer.
Great.
And that gave birth to the Shakespearean hairline, which is this ridiculously looking hair. Interestingly, if you look at portrayals of Shakespeare on the screen, his hair is a lot more forward than the real pictures of Shakespeare would give.
Maybe because they get handsome actors to play him, whereas he wasn't that in real life.
But I like his attitude to hair, and he wrote one of his sonnets is often called the Wig sonnet because he had a real problem, I guess because of his hairstyle. He tried to go with it. He tried to make something
popularize of it.
Yes, but he really did not like wigs.
Okay.
His sonnet, Sonnet 68, sometimes known as Shakespeare's Wig sonnet, was described by the poet Don Patterson in his book Reading Shakespeare's Sonnets as a tirade against wigs by a baldy. He goes on to note, as much as some commentators would prefer it were otherwise, this is mainly a poem about wigs. Yeah? So, in which Shakespeare praises the fair youth's beauty and his fair hair for its authenticity, harking back to a time before people snip their hair off and put wigs on. So I'll read that to you as a parting gift for Shakespeare. So, thus is his cheek the map of days outworn, when beauty lived and died as flowers do now, before the bastard signs of fair were born, or durst inhabit on a living brow, before the golden tresses of the dead, the rite of sepulchres were shorn away, to live a second life on second head. Ere beauty's dead fleece made another gay. In him those holy antique hours are seen, without all ornament, itself and true, making no summer of another's green, robbing no old to dress his beauty new. And him, as for a map, doth nature store, to show false art what beauty was of yore. So in other words, it doesn't matter whose hair you put on your head, you're not going to fool anybody.
Exactly.
So I like that, and I like, Shakespeare always had something funny to say about people with no hair or people with wigs. There's a couple of other little quotes from him. There's many a man has more hair than wit. And she hath more hair than wit, and more faults than hairs, and more wealth than faults. Lovely image of a person with a lot of hair but nothing much else.
Can you read that again, please?
She hath more hair than wit, and more faults than hair, and more wealth than faults. So this is the wealthy but slightly
dim.
Yes. Yeah. What time had scanted men in hair, he hath given them in wit. So definitely a relationship between how much hair you've got and your level of
intelligence.
Yeah. So good for Shakespeare.
Yeah, well done. Okay, I'll read to you this last. This is, I think, a poem written for children. It's quite funny and it's very short. So
good place to finish.
End with that, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's Granddad's Got Hair by Craven. Granddad's got hair on his fingers, hair on his toes, hair in his ears, hair up his nose. His chest has got more hair than a coarse front door mat. His back has got more hair than next door's tomcat. Granddad's head is silky and smooth, not a solitary bristle. Smooth as a baby's bum, clean as a whistle. Some say a snooker ball has got more hair, but his beard hides a smile that says, I just don't care.
Oh, I like Granddad. That's so good.
You get to that point and you really don't care anymore.
Yeah, I don't know whether that's something you have to deal with, but I'm really having to come to terms with the fact that hair grows everywhere that you don't expect it. So I never used to think that like hair growing out of your nose is a problem.
Okay.
Having to trim your nasal hair, how gross is that? And then finding hair growing out of your ears.
Yeah,
or growing on your earlobes. That is, I mean, it's a nice little thing. I can just, occasionally plucking the hair from my ears.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
No, I'm not there yet. Let's see. I hope I don't have to deal with this.
What do you think about men with hairy backs? What's going on there? Thankfully, I've only, got a very, very light smattering. But, you go to a beach and you see, is that an ape? Or is it, it's a man with very hairy back. Yeah.
Okay, then.
That was great fun.
And here we are again. We thought we picked something that was very niche and we would not be able to find much about it.
Yes.
But we ended up also running out of things, having things to say that we didn't have the time to say.
Yes, we missed it by a hair's breadth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good. Well, that's great. Let's do it again, shall we?
Let's do it again next week for sure. We will see you all next week.
I enjoyed that a lot. I'm now going to go and wash my hair with No-poo.
No-poo, exactly.
Yeah.
Do it. Okay, good.
See ya. See you soon. Bye. We hope that you've enjoyed listening to the readings we chose for you today.
And that our musings have ignited your thoughts.
If you've enjoyed this episode, please share it with your friends and those you think would enjoy it.
If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or any kind of feedback, please send us an email using the email in the show notes.
We'd love to hear from you with the words that make you.